gonna be an exciting one because we have a lot to talk about on this episode of the Post Play Podcast. And before we get into all of that, let's introduce the members of this team. To my left, 1999 8th overall pick, the PBA, right. Don Carlos Aliados here. To my far right, 1998 3rd overall pick by Popcola Panthers, you have Ali Pic. And of course, our special guest for this evening is the president of Media 5 and of course the former coach of Gilas Pilipinas. Give a warm round of applause for Coach Chot Reyes in the house.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. Nice to have you, Coach.
Can't believe I'm in between these two guys.
Okay, only five-time coach of the year.
Yeah,
only five-time. Thank you.
I'm just the only question I have, Coach, is if this is the episode where Ali and Don finally kill each other on our episode.
Let's hope so. Get a lot of viewers.
Those knuckleheads.
Yeah.
So, Coach, we have our final 12. It was announced. We all saw the telecast of the Gilas 12 announcement here, and there were some players who alam na natin more or less were already locks. But there were two surprising cuts that we have to say that were really requirement by the FIBA rules to make. Yeah. No, and unfortunately the two players who were cut were Calvin Abueva of the Alaska Aces and Ep4 Tenorio of Barangay Ginebra. I guess I'll talk to you first, Coach. Here, you've been with Gilas and you know the process of actually having to make these cuts. You did this with Bo Belga, I think in 2013, if I'm not mistaken. Can you give us like sort of an inside glimpse of what was the process when you have to make that final cut and how painful it is, I guess, as a coach?
In a word, it's excruciating. It's really the toughest part of a coach's job, and you no matter how much you prepare for it mentally and emotionally, when it comes time, it never gets easy. And our only consolation, if you want to call it that, is that I make it a point to tell my players, you will know it from me first before anyone else. So that's the only thing.
Is it different, Coach? Like, for example, were there some teams previously in Gilas na maybe like weeks before you already knew that these are the players you wanted on your team, as compared to like maybe some other teams, it happened like the day before the announcement, that's the only time you had to decide? Does it vary per team?
Yeah, it varies from case to case, but the problem with the national team, by the mere fact it's a national team, those are for sure 14 or 15 or 13 really good players because it's a national team. So you know already when you're a national team coach that final decision is going to be a very difficult one.
Okay.
Just have a question. The process of cutting players, is it the same as when you were coached before with the PBA teams as it is with the national
commercial
team? Is the process the same, or is it a little bit more complicated?
It's a little bit more complicated in the national team. First of all, the stakes are much greater. Secondly, everyone is going to have an opinion, obviously. And finally, like I said, it's always going to be a great player who is going to be at the receiving end. Sometimes in PBA teams, that's always in commercial teams in the PBS. Sometimes it's an economic decision. Sometimes you have to make cuts or you have to make a decision on player trades. So that's completely different from just making a cut for the national team, because in the national team, those 2 or 3 players or 1 player, they gave it their all, just like anybody else.
But you know that when you make those hard decisions in the beginning, but when the final team comes together, you still know, because we're talking about a pool of players, you still know that you're going in there with the very best that the country has to offer. I think that's always the plus side when you make that final decision, you make the final decisions of those 12 last players.
And I think one thing that people don't appreciate is the fact that when you make a cut, it's very difficult for the 2, obviously, who didn't make the team. But there's also a big effect on the 12 who remain. Because there can be some very deep relationships, some personal preferences by the players, the chemistry issues. Those are very, very important.
And I guess it's also special case here, Coach, because they're going to be playing in the Philippines.
Correct.
And of course, like players like Calvin, like LA, they've dreamed of representing the country. And the last minute yung opportunity niya na hindi matutuloy. I mean, it's gotta suck. But the thing is, they're always going to be looked at as Gilas players.
Yes.
Diba?
Plus, when they were chosen to be part of the Final 14, it was made very clear to them, nobody has a lock. We're going to make 2 cuts, and that might be you. So you have to be ready for it.
Okay, so let's just go through the list of players who actually made it. For those who were living under a rock and have not been on social media these past few hours or days. No? So in the guards, you have Jason Castro, Terence Romeo, Jeff Chan, and Ryan Reyes. On the forwards, you have Ranidel De Ocampo, Gabe Norwood, Japeth Aguilar, Troy Rosario, Mark Pingris and Bobby Ray Parks. And in the centers, you have Junmar Fajardo and Andre Blatch. Coach, I mean, it's safe to say we have a little bit of everything with this lineup. We have speed, we have shooting, we have big men who can be a presence in the paint. I guess, what are your initial reactions based on this 12 lineup?
I like the size of the team. I think one thing that the coaching staff told us before they made the final selection was they really made the decision based on size. And unfortunately, in his position, Calvin was the most undersized. So no matter what we do, we cannot match up in size with any one of those teams. But at least in his position, he was the most undersized. And LA, because of the two great point guards, is really going to be a third point guard. And again, size is an issue. If they need a third point guard, they're either going to go to Ryan Reyes or Gabe Norwood.
Yeah.
So they want to go big in that third point guard spot.
Coach, is familiarity also a factor in this in those guys getting the cut? Because most of LA Tenorio, with the type of player that he is, he needs to facilitate with the ball. And we all know the offense of Talking Sex, which of course it also came from you, the dribble drive offense. You know, it's a very potent offense. And so does that have a factor also in the cut with those players?
Yeah, of course, that plays a big role. But I think what people don't know, LA is very close to Coach Tab's heart. When I got Tab to be part of the coaching staff way back in 2013, he and LA already developed a very, very close relationship. So this was a particularly tough cut for Coach Tab.
That's really tough.
I mean, I might not. It's not gonna be an exaggeration for me to say that LA was actually one of Coach Tab's favorites.
Yeah, actually, just to add to that point, Coach, in one of the practices at Meralco Gym a few weeks ago, I actually asked Coach Tab, like, who would you say are the best passers on the team? And without hesitation, he said Eli Tenorio and Gabe Norwood. So it was really a surprise for me to see that Eli didn't make the lineup. And I guess a lot of people, more than Eli, are probably asking why Calvin didn't make it.
Yeah.
Just because, he's just coming off a best player of the conference in the Commissioner's Cup, tapos biglang hindi siya umabot. But like you said, Coach, there are a lot of players that are playing his position, and even in the international teams. I would think also, Coach, that in their past few tune-up games with Italy and against Turkey, he must have seen something that he didn't like, or maybe may pagkukulang. That's why he decided not to opt with the Beast and with the LA Tenorio.
You would agree that he was a bit exposed in that game versus Iran. That the size, you could see that he was struggling with that. Especially the position that he plays. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but still, I had Calvin in my list. I thought he was going to make it, and but then the guys who were on the bubble for me, Troy and Ray Ray. Troy was in some stretches the best player for Gilas, and he played really well in the wing spot. So that's important. And then Ray Ray again gives them size in the 2 spot if they play him off guard. So. That's why Calvin was the odd man out.
Troy Rosario was 6'7".
Yeah.
And that means especially you can stretch him out.
Yeah.
He's really good.
He's
get some rebound.
6'7", athletic with the shot.
Yes,
so
definitely.
he can really go out and play the wing.
Coach, going back to the 2 games, we lost by an average of I think 34 points to Turkey and to Italy. And we're playing against China. I guess as a coach, do you try to go into those games to actually win them? Or are you just trying to sort of see maybe what lineups work, or maybe what offense actually works, or maybe it's... I remember I read somewhere also that Coach Baldwin and Coach Black were upset that they weren't actually running the offense in the first half. So parang, ano ba yung mindset when you're trying to go to these pocket tournaments internationally?
I think bigger than the margin of victory was margin of defeat was the fact that they had issues in the first half. And you're right, when we have tune-up games, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for execution. More than anything else, we want to see things that we practice, can we apply them on a game situation? And that's the most important thing. And obviously, that didn't happen in the first half against Italy last night, but in the second half, Coach Tab himself said they played perhaps their best basketball ever in that second half. So, again, that's something they can build on, and we'll see the game against China tonight. How much they've learned their lessons from that Italy game.
Okay, and with that, we want to thank our guest, Coach Chot Reyes.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us here
Thank
on
you.
Post Play.
What?
You have anything to ask Coach Chot? You're just standing there the whole time.
Look, we're not going to argue right now. All right, I'm just sitting here, I'm listening to him, and I haven't seen him in a long time. I just want to listen to what he has to say.
He's soaking it in.
I'm soaking it in.
We've had our
Is that
shouting
okay?
matches.
Is that
We've
okay?
had our shouting matches
I
a lot of
I
times.
enjoy.
Thanks for coming, Coach.
Thanks,
We
Coach.
really appreciate it, Coach.
Thanks a lot,
See you,
Coach. I
man.
appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank
Coach.
you, thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Tuloy lang.
Oh, tuloy lang, Coach. Kami na bahala sa'yo. We're just going
just going, man.
We're gonna
going.
cut to a
We're
different
going.
camera angle para
I'm
ano.
going to sit over here.
Come on, buddy.
All right, this thing, man. Is, yeah, all right.
Right there, see?
Yeah, there. All right, cool.
Ow.
We're in trouble.
Don't freak out.
We're
good.
I'm gonna be destroyed in the middle
No,
of this.
you're fine.
Huge guys.
You're fine.
All right.
Him, I don't know. So.
Okay, guys. We have 12. We have our 12. We have our Gilas 12. These are the guys who are going to go to the Mall of Asia Arena on July 5. We're gonna play against France, against New Zealand. These are our guys. Touch move, no turning back. Are you surprised by anything? Firstly, in this lineup.
Well, of course, I didn't see Calvin Abueva not making the not making the team. I thought he was in already because of his energy and how he affects the team. He's very aggressive. So, but again, Coach Chot said that, and also the coaching staff, they mentioned that he is a little undersized for the position that he plays. And so, right now we have a good ceiling, we have a good combination of versatility, and that's very important right now. I think they have the right mixture.
Well, it's the final 12. I mean, there's really nothing that we can do or say about it anymore. At the end of the day, the way I'm thinking is, of course, there's a lot of pissed off fans right now for Calvin Abueva and, of course, Ep4 Tenorio. Matter of fact, just watching the whole presentation before this, there were some media people saying, wow,
There's a buzz.
Yeah, there's a little buzz.
there was
saying,
a buzz.
Calvin didn't make it.
Yeah, because whatever they do, they're always going to get bad news about those players being cut. Kahit sino i-cut mo dun sa team na yun, wala din eh. Ganun din. You're still going to get the same backlash. Oh, why did they cut him?
Yeah.
And why did he get cut?
It comes with the territory,
Yeah.
And just like Coach was saying, it's just a hard decision to make. And we didn't know this. We didn't know that Coach Tab I didn't know that Coach Tab and LA were really tight. So that was a tough decision for Coach Tab to make, and he did what he felt and believed was best for the team. So if you want someone that's a decision maker, like that's the type of decision maker you want. Someone that's not going to make the most popular decision, but the necessary decision.
I think also we have to take into consideration the familiarity of the players. A lot of those guys are from Talk and Text, right?
Yeah.
And so they're very familiar with the system of Coach Tab and what they do over there. LA, of course, and Calvin Abueva.
I mean, I'm surprised. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, LA and Calvin Abueva, they deserve also to be in the Gilas Filipinas. But again, familiarity maybe could be a big factor in these guys getting cut because, I mean, let's face it, these guys are Talk and Text guys. Playing now, and they're very familiar with the system of Coach Tab.
It's true, but I mean, it goes back to what Coach was saying, though. He's talking about size. At the end of the day, Ryan Reyes is what? How about 6'2"?
Now, I think Ryan deserves a spot.
Ryan
finally,
Reyes is 6'2",
finally,
and
Ryan
Troy Rosario
gets a spot,
I mean,
and he's been playing well defensive. He's the #1 defensive guard for the past 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, definitely.
And what you said
it's just
earlier, he deserves a shot.
The injuries kind of hindered him in the process of making the national teams because he's always been considered to be part of the national team. I mean, gosh, talking about 5-6 years back, probably longer than that.
Yeah.
Just Ryan gets hurt every so often, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, with these guys that get cut, they're going to be at the games, supporting their team 100%, and that's the beauty of it all. Of course, they're upset, but at the same time, I'm sure they're a bit relieved that finally this whole process is a bit over for them. They can just relax and focus on their commercial team and then really fully support the Gilas, especially now that,
That is, Gilas is a brotherhood. Just like the teams that we've been on, it serves as a brotherhood and like our brotherhood.
I don't know what you're talking about.
There's a moment here in the post play. Where did that come from?
I'm not into the whole mushy.
Where did that come from,
man? But
going back to Calvin really quickly, guys. I mean, you guys have played against Abueva. in your career. No, and I think the one thing about Calvin that's really been one of his biggest strengths is he's such an instinctual player. Like he goes for the fast break layup, even though it's a 3-on-1 fast break, or he goes for the rebound against big men that are 5 or 6 inches bigger than him. But I think in this regard, Donner Ali, maybe the instinctiveness that he played with maybe might have been his downfall, because I saw some parts of the game against Turkey. And you mentioned
It's
this
a little
also.
sporadic.
Yeah, and even with his defense, he tends to sort of to play the passing lanes a bit too much. He tends to go for the big steals, and when that happens, it really destroys everything that Coach Tab was working on in defense.
Yeah,
That's also, again,
compromises
that goes back to familiarity, and also the fact that sometimes his actions does not necessarily fit the team concept at times. Maybe it does over there at Alaska, but this is a national level. And so maybe
It's a
like what you said,
global level.
like what you said, it could be sporadic. It could be his consistency is pretty much, well, his consistency is inconsistent when it comes to energy levels and trying to break down the defensive plays of the other opposing teams.
And sometimes, I mean, he's very good at playing the passing lanes. He's very good at stealing the ball, and just his aggressiveness on defense and help side. He's very good at those things. But then again, sometimes it gets him into trouble. It compromises the rest of the defense.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that, with Coach Tab and the staff of the Gilas, you're talking about a global scale here. You're talking about some of these teams have NBA players in that. I mean, it's hard talking
Italy
about
had
this.
3
Yes,
NBA players.
it's hard talking about this because I don't want us to come off as this we're
dissing whoever,
dissing
Abueva
Abueva,
or
but I mean
Tenorio.
it's just not. We're just
No,
really
we're
trying
not
to break
dissing
things down.
the Abueva or anybody.
No,
We're
I just don't
discussing,
want to
like,
come
whether
off
this
as
could
that.
be the factors
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
Abueva's demise in the Gilas.
I mean, there was a reason why he didn't make it. Going back lang to, I guess the one question a lot of people have was, he made it to FIBA Asia. Why didn't he make it here? But I guess seeing Turkey, seeing Omer Ashik, seeing Andrea Bargnani, Bellinelli, this is just like a whole new level of competition. I would say, safe to say, much better than the Asian level. So, some things just really get exposed by certain players.
Well, again, going back to what the coaching staff said, the height, the ceiling, and Abueva was a little bit undersized for his position. So that's what I'm going at.
Now, moving on to LA Tenorio. I mean, LA Tenorio, for me personally, this is the tougher cut. Just because
It is.
LA played so many years with so many national teams, no? And a lot of people might say that I think he's around 30 or 31 years old. This may be like his last stand in terms of participating with Gilas, unless you want to go with like a mentor role the next few years.
Someone
no?
like Jimmy Alapapa.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people are actually saying that without Jimmy, this was Tenorio's opportunity to be the sort of kuya on the team. But that's why it was kind of a sad thing to actually see him not make it on the team.
It was. I mean, it was a bit a bit of emotion into it, especially listening to the whole press conference. MVP thanking or the officials that really back the whole team up. Just thanking LA Tenorio and Calvin Abueva for their service. And it's just like, wow, we're not going to get a chance to see them, especially LA Tenorio, perform on the global scale. But then it's like, well, there's this 12, and we have to do everything in our power to support these 12.
Yeah.
So,
I think at this point, like what Ali said, no. I mean, obviously it's sad to lose LA and Calvin, but we have 12 players who are actually competing.
Yeah.
We have 12 players who actually are ready to to battle against the big boys on their international stage. And let's actually break down let's break them down one by one, or at least by the positions. Let's go first with the guards. Our guards are Jason Castro, Terence Romeo, Jeff Chan, and Ryan Reyes. I mean, a lot of people are saying that we have shooters, we have we have speed, but we don't have height. And it's very clear that this is going to be an issue for Gilas moving forward against the bigger teams in the OQT.
Kahit wala tayong height katulad ng mga ibang teams, meron naman tayong speed and versatility. Our lack of height makes up with our speed.
Yeah.
Our speed makes up for our lack of height. And the ball movement that we have and how we attack the other teams, and we also focus on team defense. I think our team defense, that's something that we can be proud of. And our attitude is just never say die.
I'll be honest with you. I think that we have some of the best guards on the planet.
We get the best guard in Asia.
We have best guards in Asia, but we have some really talented guards that can match up really well with the rest of the countries that they're going to be competing against in this tournament. But what I notice about these guards is that Don, you agree with this, they're kind of interchangeable. Some of these guys could go from the 1 to the 2.
Yeah.
Some of them could go to 1, 2, and 3 if needed.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I like about this selection of guards.
That's the talk about versatility. That's
Yeah,
what we have for our country.
Yeah.
And it's also good to see particularly Jeff Chan in this lineup because you need shooting in all positions.
I like the
basically,
combination of Ryan Reyes and Jason Castro along with Jeffrey Chan, especially in the zone, because Jeffrey Chan is out there as our zone breaker. You have Ryan Reyes able to penetrate the gaps, break down the defense, and same with Jason Castro, and they'll kick out to the open
Right
Jeffrey
in that
Chan.
corner, man, that corner.
Yeah.
With that
all the
left-
way in the corner with the left hand,
Yeah.
And then all three
Money.
guards they have three-point capability as well. And what we talked about the loss of Ep4 Tenorio, but with Ryan Reyes now into the picture, you're talking about a veteran guard that's going to make sound decisions out there. So,
See, Ryan Reyes has been the number one defensive point guard for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Number one.
And like health has always been the issue with him. Now going back to Jason Castro, I want to ask you this about Ali. You've been a teammate of Castro for many years.
Don also.
You also. Now, at this point, Castro he's a veteran on the team. He's been through the wars, and I think it's safe to say na these past few games with Turkey and with Italy, parang pumipacing na lang siya. Not really trying to sort of impose his will on the team. Is that really by design? Do you think he's just sort of, okay, I know what I'm going to have to do. I know I'm going to have to shoulder the load, so I'm just going to sort of lay low and give Terrence and all these guys opportunities?
possibly, because we also have to consider he does have some nagging injuries.
Yeah.
I think it was the hamstring and the Achilles. And now we're talking about, it's one thing to be playing versus commercial teams in the PBA, but then we're talking about playing against some of the best players of some of these countries in the world. So he definitely has to pace himself up until it really counts. I'm not saying that he's slacking off. I don't know what's going on in his mind, to be honest with you. But definitely, I'm sure he's putting some of those nagging injuries as well with the staff and the trainers into consideration, if anything.
We want to also invite you guys to download the official Gilas Pilipinas app. Have you guys downloaded it?
I haven't. I'll
guys
do
need to
it in
download.
about 5
I
minutes.
downloaded it already when it came out. But this guy here,
Okay, yeah.
no support.
Teacher's pet.
Again, congratulations to the Gilas 12. Jason Castro, Romeo, Chot Reyes, RDO, Gabe Norwood, Aguilar, Rosario, Pinger, Sparks, Fardon, Blatch, and we will continue to watch and continue to support this team the next few days leading up to the Olympic qualifying tournament. Congratulations, Laban Pilipinas. This has been Post Play.